Hello there, and welcome to CineMunn podcast. I'm your host, Vince. Today is a bit of a solemn day for us on the podcast, as movie lovers, as movie fans, as film fans, as geeks and nerds and recluses who carry comic books in our backpacks and toys in our pockets and posters on our wall. Our princess has died. And by our princess, I mean the great Carrie Fisher. 60 years old. Just this past weekend, she had suffered a heart attack on a flight from London back home and was in the hospital these last couple days. And this morning, probably around 9, 10 o'clock, she passed. And it's so weird to feel something for a person you've never met. I've never met Carrie Fisher. I never met Alan Rickman or David Bowie. I never met Prince. I never met George Michael. I never met Robin Williams. But in their passing, in losing them as they shuffle off this mortal coil, I realize how much time I spent with them. In watching their movies, in listening to their interviews, in hearing about them through friends, through conversation, through audio, through video. And of that bunch, I probably spent the most time with Carrie Fisher. I was introduced to Star Wars around 7 years old. And my first movie star crush was Carrie Fisher. Now, I'd been loving movies for a while. Obviously, I fell in love with film watching Jurassic Park, but I never felt that way about Laura Dern. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. Laura Dern was always great to me, but I never fell in love with a movie star the way I did with Carrie Fisher, in that I was a child, and she was so young at the time of that filming. 12 years my senior. Oh, no. If you compared the age when she made Empire to the age I was when I saw Empire, yeah. But something about her, just, I don't know if it was her childlike face with that sense of nobility to it, or the strongness in her eyes, sensing the soul, that awareness of a person, or the strength in her voice. And when she spoke, when she commanded a group of men, a group of troops, they listened. And something about that just made it stand out that a strong woman is a woman to know. And Carrie Fisher was a strong woman. Obviously, if you know anything of history, the child of singer Eddie Fisher and actress Debbie Reynolds, Carrie Fisher was born to be a star. She was. I think the hardest thing for any child who is the child of a celebrity is to come out of the shadow of their parent, or parents in her case. And Carrie Fisher did that, obviously, becoming famous at a young age of 19 with Star Wars in 1977, much the way her mother did, becoming famous at a young age with Singing in the Rain. Very similar look. And until I learned who Debbie Reynolds was to Carrie Fisher, I actually kind of thought for a while, I was like, they kind of look alike. Made sense, didn't it? It's so weird to say you felt something for someone you've never met. After getting home today from work, I thought about it. I posted on my own personal Facebook page about Carrie Fisher. And after I wrote, I cried. And that was so, in that moment, was a great relief and release of emotion. And afterwards, I kind of sat there and thought to myself, well, what am I doing crying for someone I've never met? And again, the reality that I've spent so much time with this person, that they've impacted me so that I know a side of them, even if it's a character, and learning later in life about her life, and reading some of her books and seeing her one-woman show, I learned about Carrie Fisher, and what a strong person she was, and what an advocate for mental illness she was, and to be not only self-aware of your addictions, but to be honest about them, to not hide them, to be willing to say, this is my problem. It's made me stronger. And that's exactly what it did for her. Losing her is obviously a big thing in the world of sci-fi and geekdom. While she may have played a princess on screen in several films, she really was a princess to her audience. I mean, to have a legion, if not legions, of fans who adored her, who saw her as that, no matter her age. Even the last Star Wars film, last Christmas, when she came on screen, and that familiar theme of John Williams, which is called Princess Leia's theme, that came on as she stepped out of the shuttle, I cried. Because I was 7 years old again, seeing my crush. It's so weird the way celebrities can impact you like that. I've never been one to be starstruck. It's happened probably once. I've met a few celebrities, and again, it's happened maybe once to where I actually felt a little emotional or out of self-control. Not in a crazy way, like crazy fans, you grab people like, oh my god. No. But in more of like, I can feel my heart racing, and I'm tripping over my words, and I don't know what to say. But I'm sure that if I ever met her, I probably would have felt that way. And I'm not much taller than her, so that was always a nice additive. I'm like, oh, if I ever got to meet Carrie Fisher, or if I got to grow up and marry Carrie Fisher, we'd be the same size. And it's a little funny to think of it that way. I know today a lot of social media has been flooded with Star Wars, with pictures, fan art, photos of her family life, or memories of her on the set of Star Wars, or, still photographs, official photos, behind-the-scenes photos, all those things. But the one thing that kind of stood out to me the most from her history was her marriage to Paul Simon. I think only married a year or so. They dated for a while before getting married, were married, divorced, and then they dated continuously, I think for 8 or 9 years after they divorced, before finally breaking up in the early 90s, I believe. And Paul had written a song about them, really, which I can't remember the title of at the moment, so if you'll excuse me. But just knowing that she impacted him, even in that way, is wonderful. And the song was Heart and Bones by Paul Simon. You hear the lyrics start out, 1 1/2 wandering Jews. Because of Carrie's heritage, she was half Jewish on her father's side, and obviously Paul Simon being full Jewish. So just go find the song if you can, Heart and Bones, and just listen to the words. Don't even think about what it relates to, just listen to the story it's telling. And it's really touching, and maybe that's because I had heard that song today when thinking about her passing. Maybe that's why I felt so emotional about it, and that's why it affected me so. Icon, I think, will be one of the biggest words associated with her after this. It has been for a lot of her career, probably, but I think it's really cemented now in her passing. I guess I can close out this quick podcast with the reminder that her last words that will ever be uttered on film. No, I'm wrong, because she did finish episode 8, from what I've read in reports, from, I think, as spoken by Lucasfilm, and I think maybe in some of the producers on Star Wars episode 8, that Carrie had finished her work on episode 8, which is due out, I believe, next year, probably around the same time, a year next Christmas. So those will be her final lines uttered on film, but her current final lines on film are hope. And it may seem like a cop-out because it wasn't Carrie, it was a CG'd younger version of Carrie in Rogue One, saying those lines, basically pulling the audio from episode 4 to use that. But to me it still counts, in that she said hope. And hope is what she gave a lot of people. She was a strong female character at a time when you really didn't have strong female characters in film. And the ones that you did, like Sally Field in, Norma Ray, those strong characters, stood out in a type of political way. Princess Leia stood out in the way of being one of maybe 2, maybe 3 women in a galaxy of men, having high billing with the 2 leads of Hamill and Ford right next to them, having as much of an impact on the story as them, and being royalty, being looked up to as a leader from the get-go. Her character is a princess. But she's not the princess, like, as some would say, a Disney princess, though she is now, because Lucasfilm is owned by Disney. She is now a Disney princess. I know even she kind of took some glee in that. But just to be a princess and to not play the damsel in distress, to be able to stand her own, to command people, to fire a gun, to have escape plans, to think it through. That's a powerful role model for a lot of girls, and even to a lot of men, is like, this is what a strong woman is. This might be the type of woman you want in your life. And certainly it impacted me. A lot of the women I've dated in my life were strong women. Hard-headed, stubborn, driven, and ultimately, at least the 2 that I have known for the longest and have had the heaviest impact in my life, they were successful. And I think no small part of that is due to the character given of Princess Leia. I may be reaching here, I don't know. And you may say, well, you are reaching, you're just making shit up. I'm speaking from where my heart is, which is why you probably hear so many kind of pauses and such in my voice. Part of it is because of that. Part of it is simply, I'm still just taken aback at the loss. She will always be that 19-year-old girl that I saw in Star Wars every time. And yes, she did have a successful career in film, even behind the scenes as a script doctor. I think one of the first films she ever doctored, as far as like polishing dialogue, was Hook in '91. Obviously, remember her in Soap Dish, The Blues Brothers, The Burbs. She wrote a semi-autobiographical book and film, Postcards from the Edge, which was a film done with Meryl Streep, very loosely based on, I think, her relationship with her mother. When Harry Met Sally, she worked on, she was a talent, and obviously an author. I think she wrote about 5 or 6 books that she'd authored, as well as doing a one-woman show, Wishful Drinking, which I got to see on HBO. That was probably 4 or 5 years ago. It was a one-woman show, basically based off that book, Wishful Drinking, and it was funny and sad and poignant, and really kind of gave an insight into respecting people with mental illness and what it's like to be the child of a celebrity, and the good and bad of it, and how it affects you. In saying goodbye to Carrie Fisher, we just simply say thank you. Thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for showing us. Thank you, as Princess Leia, for leading our rebellion. Thank you for giving us that hope. I think one of the best things about her in the Star Wars franchise is that when you first meet her in Star Wars, she's, basically, I think the modern equivalent of a girl wearing a big hoodie. Basically covering most of her physical, if not all of her physical, pretty much, throughout a good 80% of the movie, 85%. Empire Strikes Back, she's wearing snow pants, and she wears, kind of, I guess like a dress on Bespin, and then again, kind of a white jumpsuit as they escape Bespin. So you had 2 movies to fall in love with this character's personality, with her mind first. So by the time we get to Return of the Jedi, and you see her in the famous, if not infamous, metal bikini in Jabba's palace, you're already in love with this character. And all that simply did was add, like, basically the cherry on top of the sundae. This woman's already amazing. No, and she's hot as hell, too. Win-win-win for everyone all around. And that's, I think, affected a lot of kind of nerd guys like myself. We fall in love with the mind first, and everything else is secondary. If you're as strong as Princess Leia, if you're as mindful, if you're as honest as Carrie Fisher was about your problems, you are a strong person. So one last time we say goodbye. Goodbye to Carrie Fisher. Goodbye to our princess as she goes back to that galaxy far, far away.